Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. It's the midweek edition of the program. On the program today, our focus, the conversation has been on the ICT sector. We've been reviewing how the sector fared in 2014. And now for this part of the show, we're going to be talking about expectations for 2015. I've been having the conversation with the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Precise Financial Systems Limited, Yele Okeremi, and the Chief Executive Officer of Jude's Consulting Limited, Ifeanyi Uba. Both gentlemen are still here with me in the studio anyway, so thank you so much for sticking around. Well, we've seen the challenges. Let me just mention some of them. Human capacity deficiency, there was infrastructure challenges, no clear strategy, have a huge critical mass and not seemingly able to deal with it. We're more of consumers than producing nation, of course, and then the issue of the dropped calls, voice calls, SMS, and data as well. So with all of these issues that we've enumerated, these challenges that we saw the sector face in 2014, what are your expectations for 2015? Yele, let me start with you.
Well, I mean, I think it's a brand new day. Something new has to happen. Because, first of all, the party is over, and I think that's a clear knowledge of everybody.
The party is over for who?
For the country, for everybody, for pretty much everybody. The oil money, what's the price of oil today? So, I mean, you know, there's a maxim, and we have to understand this maxim, of necessity being the mother of invention. And it's important that we get that clear. I mean, perhaps the challenge with Nigeria is that we have had things too easy, a little bit too easy. Because you have free money, you really don't have to think. Money is coming out of the ground anyway. Now, but if you really look at a lot of wealthy countries, what have they done differently? You realize that quite a number of these countries don't even have natural resources at all. And yet, they get results. Now, that tells you something, that the human mind is the most complex machine that God created. And therefore, wealth comes out of the human mind. Now, what other field in the world depicts this creativity better anywhere in the world than technology? And if you really do look at what happens in other parts of the world where there's real civilization, who are the wealthiest people in the world? Take a look at it. You realize that majority of them made their money and make their money from technology, creating value. And I say the party is over. It's not a bad thing, necessarily, if we know what we are doing. As a country, we must come back now and begin to think appropriately.
Okay, so in terms of coming back now to think more appropriately and generate revenue,
absolutely,
and create jobs for the economy, what should the ministry and the ministry at this time be looking at?
I think they should be looking at the output from our schools, because you can't expect a child to give you what you can give, but there's no return on the kind of quality of education they get. You see a computer science graduate still struggling with some basics, and when they go abroad, it's even worse. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not about building schools everywhere. No, let's look at the quality of what they are getting in the ICT departments around the nation. It's not just teaching them the basics, things that are like 10, 15 years. ICT is a very fast-paced sector, so people should be abreast with what's happening, the world over. We shouldn't be, it's very clear if you go to the schools in Nigeria today, they're still doing something that is probably 20 years old in the ICT departments, and that's very, very wrong. We should be at the top of it. We've got very smart kids, and they can cope with the best in the world. When they go abroad, they always come out tops. So if we can start from here and make sure that we give them the basic foundation for them to go forth. In 2014, we had 2 major online companies, online malls. I mean, it's a very simple technology that people can benefit from. We've got lots of kids that could do a whole lot more with that, with our volume and everything. So I think the government should back. But before I go into that, I think one of the problems we might face is power issue. ICT is basically power dependent. So if a child is trying to run some programs in his bedroom where these things are being done, where the brain really works best, and then there's power outage, it's going to stop and then hope for, power to come back. And then before it happens again, he must have lost the zeal, the drive that pushed him to think towards that line. we're ICT experts. We know how we, come up with ideas. It's not when it could hit you at any time, and then you want to start working, and then there's no power for you to run. Thank God we have tablets and everything, but your conventional PCs still need power supply to run.
Still, basically, the issue of infrastructure that Yele
Yes.
actually mentioned.
So I think now we've gotten should I say structure, but what about the quality that runs this structure? So we need to get it right from the lecturers, people with, not just some 30, 40-year-old persons in the department. No, some new minds. It could be 25 years old young man with a sound knowledge of, app developing. They could bring him into university to teach them. Doesn't have to. You must be a graduate of this and that before you come on to deliver. No, if you can do this, I don't think Zuckerberg and Bill Gates went through all of that stress. They delivered the biggest platforms the world is running on today. And you can see in China it's happening. You saw Alibaba come on, and I saw what they did. Before now, we used to see Alibaba as one of those run-of-the-mill pages on the internet. But then today they are one of the biggest, they had one of the biggest IPOs in the world. So I think we can do it, but we need the support of the government to help us take away these little niggling issues.
So would that, from what you've actually now said, that's probably cause a heartache for e-commerce, because that's one particular aspect of the financial services that we've seen, grow in leaps and bounds, even in 2014. Will we see that continue for 2015, for instance?
Yeah, e-commerce will keep growing. Like I said earlier on, we've got BVN running. It's going to take away the clumsiness of the token, which everybody now has on their key holder. And then obviously we don't blame the banks for giving us tokens because our passwords are being compromised. So they came up with the idea of the BVN. So I think if with the BVN, it gives everybody a chance to be identified uniquely by every other bank. It's a melting point for proper ID of every customer of a bank. So with that, I think we would have a better 2015 talking e-commerce. Yeah.
So Yele, 2015 now, we don't want to be. You're pushing that we should be more producers rather than consumers.
Absolutely.
How can that happen?
No, it's straightforward. You see, it's not this. A lot of these things we talk about are not rocket science, first of all. And there's a maxim that charity begins at home. You see, when we travel, we see a bit of what people do. And it's also sad, just like we said while we were on break, why Nigeria is a dumping ground. Nigeria will be a dumping ground until we begin to look inwards. And I've always said this, and it's a fundamental principle. Look, any nation in the world, any nation that is going to develop will solve its own problem by its own people. And that's something we have to get. Nigerian problems will have to be solved by Nigerians. Quite a number of applications, technology that we buy and bring wholesale into Nigeria were not developed for us. They were developed to solve problems of their home countries. And then we want to bring it in and expect it's going to work for us. It's a joke. So the first thing we have to do is understand that. And we have to then look, very simply, determine what our own challenges in-house in Nigeria. Now, when we determine those challenges, and we have quite a number of them, we have security challenges. Not very many nations in the world have the kind of security challenges that Nigeria currently has. Our healthcare is still a challenge. Agric is boosting, but can it go further? Because every country, and indeed every individual, as in every organization as well, has to determine what are my strong points, and then see the support structures that we can put for each of those places. So the bottom line of what I'm saying is, for example, IT can be deployed heavily for security. And because we do not have the kind of challenges that are common in so many countries, it's a non-starter to even look for the solutions outside of Nigeria. The sensible thing would be to look inwards and develop them to suit ourselves. I can tell you certain things. I mentioned it. I talked about our payment systems in Nigeria. When we started doing certain things, some other countries thought it was a joke because I do a lot of traveling as well. But today, the story is different. Why? Because we looked at our own requirements as a country. We developed it in our own ways. Not only did we develop it in our own way, we made sure that it was working for us. It has become internationally recognized today, what we are doing in Nigeria. So many countries are coming to take a look at what we are doing. We can do the same thing with security. Now, our healthcare, we have our own local challenges as well. There are ways we can innovate using technology to do quite a number of these things. And when we do some of these things, just like all the other players that we come to call global players are today, it starts from here. Who knows where it will go next?
So we should expect to see more domestic players in this sector this year?
That's my expectation. And in fact, it's not only my expectation, anything short of that is a non-starter.
Ifeanyi, do you agree with that? Last words.
Yeah. 2015 would obviously give us a lot of chance to try out what we didn't get right. Like I said earlier on, the 4G that's still being here and there. I hope it gets better in 2015. Educational, after the elections, hopefully the real job will start. They'll start adding value to education, trying to change the curriculum a bit to be in tune with time. I'm always at war with the fact that, you see fresh graduates, I mean, why can't we just melt down these things to probably on their phones? Because, I mean, we've got everybody with smartphones these days. Kids of maybe primary 6, JS1, holding on to smartphones. So let's try and melt down so that we take them off social media. Because most of the people you see on the internet are on social media. But we can bring it out from social media. I've seen some companies try to do that, putting school curriculum on phones and all, but we need more of that to add value. So even if you're in your bed, you can revise for your exams, you can add value to yourselves, even if there's no power supply. You work with your mind. The mind is a beautiful thing to waste. And in Nigeria, we see a whole lot of that. And people keep asking, why is this thing happening? Why is this one? Because we've been wasting our minds. There's a total drain. But if you see these kids, when they go abroad, they come out wonderful results. So I pray in 2015, we're going to have great input from the educational sector.
Well, I'm sure that prayer will be shared by everybody. Well, thank you so much, Ifeanyi, and thank you so much, Yele, for joining me on the program this morning and sharing your thoughts on how the ICT sector fared in 2014 and your projections for 2015.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Precise Financial Systems Limited, Yele Okeremi, and the CEO of Jude's Consulting Limited, Ifeanyi Uba, on how the ICT sector fared in 2014 and projections for 2015. Well, for Ifeanyi, there should be more town hall meetings so that investors and consumers can sit down with the regulator and share their thoughts and the issues that are bothering them so that they can be solved. And of course, let's try to be more of a producer and not a consumer country, and also try to have strategies to ensure that all of the challenges being faced by the sector are addressed, and quickly too. But that's the midweek edition of the program. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Harriet Agbinyi.